in Dallas, this wonderful new complex. Hey, everybody. What's going on? I'm Ari Temkin from FANTOM. Star in Frisco. You can also catch me on 105.3 The Fan as part of the Dallas Cowboys pre- and post-game show. Let me just check out how this is all looking on your end, but post your questions. What do you want to know after Monday's practice? A little bit different of a setup here than it is in Oxnard, so I had to kind of figure out where I was going to be able to set this thing up to get this stream going, but better late than never, right? Let's see here. We are live, correct? Yes, hopefully. But keep your questions coming. By the way, I'm Ari Temkin. This is FANTOM, the New World Order of Sports Media, and I'm broadcasting live from the Star in Frisco, their wonderful practice complex out here. Let me just see what's up. All right. Yeah, it looks like it's going. John Mizak says hello. G. Garcia says hello. Chris Bennett says hello. John Mizak asks if any injuries have happened. No, there were no injuries at practice, but the Cowboys at this point went through this practice without the majority of their key contributors. It was interesting to see Kadeem Edwards line up at right guard, and Joe Looney line up at center. So, I mean, your first string offensive line consisted of Kadeem Edwards, Joe Looney, Connor Williams, Tyron Smith, and Lyle Collins. So not exactly the first string offense. Jeremy wants to know how much Under Armour is paying me. Nothing. I am wearing an Under Armour shirt out of the goodness of my own heart. All right, I'm broadcasting live on FANTOM, also along the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. Shout out to all you folks watching on the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. What do you want to know? What do you want to know about practice today? John Mahalaris says, what's up? Augustine Lopez says, Zach Martin, question mark. So Zach was out here at practice today. He had a little bit of a wrap around his knee. If you want to check it out, I have on Twitter at Ari Sports, ARI Sports, I posted a 4-second video of him walking. He had a little bit of a limp. But he was out here again. There wasn't a brace. It was just a wrap around his knee. And everything we heard post practice from everybody was that they expect him to be able to play, on September 9th when they open the season in Carolina. Some of these other guys, it's a different story. Xavier Woods could miss 2 to 4 weeks. They signed. They signed a new safety, Dominic Sanders, who was an undrafted free agent out of Georgia. They brought him in. So at this point, nothing doing from the Cowboys as far as Earl Thomas is concerned. Obviously, that's where most Cowboys fans are at this point. But, so as far as Martin's concerned, we're not going to see him again until the regular season opener. And I guess the question then becomes, how much will he be able to stay healthy throughout the course of the regular season based on this injury that we don't know the severity of it and how long it could linger. Bone bruises could be severe. It just depends on the severity of the bone bruise itself. But, I think the Cowboys have been ultra cautious seemingly with all their guys that have suffered injury in training camp so far. Cole Beasley's the guy we talked to after practice. Same kind of thing. He was saying he really wanted to be able to play Sunday night, but he wasn't sure, and he wants to make sure that he's, able and ready to go September 9th. So, Cowboys fans have complained about soft tissue injuries in the past and that kind of stuff, and so they're being extra protective and cautious over all these injuries, but there obviously are some severe ones. David Morris says, "How'd the D look?" ? Sean Moore back in the house. What's going on, Sean? Good to see you again. Mikey Cordero is also watching along the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. Go ahead and hit the share button. Ask your questions. What do you want to know? How'd the D look? D looked good. D continues to look good. I was trying to get a word with Chidobe Awuzie after practice today, but he eluded me after practice. But, no, they're flying around. The linebackers are playing well. The front, the front seven's just playing exceedingly well. Randy Gregory, thought this was interesting. So Randy Gregory is a guy that has been starting at the nickel pass rushing spot, basically. So they're starting left defensive ends DeMarcus Lawrence, they're starting right defensive ends Tyrone Crawford, but when they've needed an extra pass rusher on the field, they've gone with Randy Gregory. He's like a de facto starter, a nickel starter, if you will. Well, tonight we saw him line up with the ones in 11 personnel, meaning one running back, one tight end. So that's not necessarily a passing down. We even saw him on the field in 12 personnel, which again, that's even more running down. When you have one running back and two tight ends, that tends to be sort of a running set offensively. So, it would bear itself to reason that Randy Gregory is going to get every opportunity to be the starting right defensive end when this thing gets going on September 9th in Charlotte, which is interesting. On the Law Nation Facebook page, Ted Mitchell says yes. How did Rico do with the first string? Wants to know. That's a couple of people tweeted about that. I know that Rico was getting some reps with the first team. He looked well. He looked good. I just got finished talking about Rico Gathers not making this football team, and I don't think running with the first team gives you any indication whatsoever that he might make this team. Look, they are the majority of the practice reps at the first string are going to Jeff Swim and Blake Jarwin. So they're mixing in Rico, maybe to see how he looks with the first stringers. But again, this kind of goes back to what we've heard, throughout, which is he's not getting the concepts. He doesn't quite get it. He doesn't grasp the offensive concepts and philosophy. So, yeah, Ted, good pickup. Ted Mitchell on the Law Nation page comments that Rico was running with the first stringers. It's a couple of 11-on-11s at practice. I had a feeling that Cowboys fans would see that and go a little bit overboard. Again, I don't know that it means anything other than maybe they want to get a different look at him and see how he looks with the first stringers. But again, it's Jarwin and Swaim. Those are the guys that they're going with first stringers for the most part. Mike James says number 45 got talent. He is an average. I agree. Okay, there's a lot that they like out of Rod Smith. It's the reason he's the second stringer. And with Bo Scarborough nursing that hip injury that he suffered on Saturday night, they're getting an extra long look at Darius Jackson and an extra long look at Rod Smith. But it's going to be interesting to see how this roster rounds itself out. I'm reluctant to think that Bo Scarborough or that Darius Jackson will get a place on this team. I said before that I thought Bo Scarborough would make this team if he became a meaningful contributor on special teams, which he's become in the first two games. He's run well. He's caught passes out of the backfield. He's done everything. Scarborough's done everything to make this football team. He's going to. Now the question becomes, do they keep a fullback at Jameis Olawale, or do they keep Darius Jackson, who's ran well again tonight out here on 11-on-11s? So, look, there's no question they've got a lot of talent at the running back position. Certainly that was, added when they drafted Bo Scarborough in the 7th round. Ryan Drab. What's going on, Ryan Drab? How are you? Watching on the Silver and Blue Nation page. Shout out to everybody watching this across all the different platforms and pages we're broadcasting live on. I'm Ari Temkin from FANTOM. Check it out at facebook.com/watch FANTOM. We're also broadcasting live on YouTube through the Law Nation 2.0 page as well as the FANTOM page. Make sure to go subscribe to the FANTOM page on YouTube. That would be fantastic. Also broadcasting live on the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page, Silver and Blue Nation, Law Nation, Dallas Cowboys Fans Club, fans with a Z, the Tried, True, and the Bleeding Blue, plus the Dallas Cowboys Report, which I will check in on now. Just want to make sure I'm getting through everybody's comments. But post your comments. What do you want to know about tonight's practice? It's interesting because this is the first year I've been to Oxnard. I've spent a week in Oxnard, California, covering the Cowboys for the last 5 years. At least 6 years, 5-6 years. This is my first time, though, here at the Star watching practice, and it's a completely different setup, obviously. There's a press box. You have what looks more like AT&T Stadium behind me, as you can see. So it's a very interesting setup. Normally on the field after practice, I'm allowed, I'd go out there and do my streams, which you saw when I was in Oxnard. I was on the field doing streams. But they didn't want anybody on the field after practice, so it's kind of an interesting setup, way different than what I saw in Oxnard, California. Mikey Howerton's watching on the Dallas Cowboys Report page. Tyrone Gaylor says, hey, what about RG3 as a backup? Interesting. It's funny because I went through all the backups and third-string quarterbacks. I went through that list today because that's how big of a loser I am. And he was a name that stood out to me. Again, I'm worried. If you read my piece that I wrote for 105 Through the Fan, I'm worried about the backup quarterback situation. I think they've got to start looking outside the organization to find who that guy would be. I'm not sure that guy's RG3. Teddy Bridgewater's a guy that I thought maybe they should take a flyer on. I wouldn't trade. I'll put it this way: I wouldn't trade for RG3, and I'd like to see, like, from what I've seen enough of Cooper Rush and Mike White to know that I'd rather have Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think I've seen enough of Mike White and Cooper Rush to tell me if I want RG3. I guess that's the best way to say it. Rob DeMont gives me the thumbs up. Thumbs up to you. Everybody go ahead and hit the share button if you wouldn't mind. Me Zumba says bad Cowboys. All right. Tyrone Gaylor says, where is Jordan Lewis, first team or second? Definitely not first. Anthony Brown is basically the first string nickel corner, which means he's not really a first stringer. But so Jordan Lewis is basically running, second nickel corner behind Anthony Brown. And then we've seen him a little bit. We saw him on Saturday night a little bit running on the outside with some of the third teamers. So, Jordan Lewis is I'd like to think that his spot is, he's got his spot on this roster, but there's a lot of competition for the cornerbacks position, and especially, Chris Richard, their passing game coordinator, and an important influence in that locker room. He values taller corners. So, Lewis is smaller. They've got guys like Donovan Alumba and other guys that have decent size that is traditionally, what Chris Richard is looking for. So, I do think that Jordan Lewis is going to make this team, but I also think there's guys behind him fighting for spots that have the size and length that that he covets and that he has in the past. Let me check it on the Watch Phantom YouTube page. All right, nothing doing over there in the chats. And then again, just want to make sure I'm getting everybody's. Want to make sure I'm answering all the questions from everybody who's wants to be part of the broadcast tonight. By the way, I'm Ari Temkin from Phantom and 105.3 The Fan. I do a show every day at noon called Showtime. So if you have not checked it out, make sure to check it out. It broadcasts across the Phantom page as well as all of our partners' pages. So make sure to check it out every day. Again, Showtime at 12 noon right here on Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. Let's see here. Just chiming in. Ask your questions, though. Keep those questions coming. What else do you guys want to know? I'm broadcasting live from the Star in Frisco. By the way, if you're in the Dallas area, practice is free. So tomorrow night, if you want to come out to Frisco, they had over 5,000 people at practice here today. I think 5,400 is what Joe Trahan, the Cowboys PR guy, told me. So it's free admission. You don't need a ticket or anything to get in. You can just walk right in. Right here at the Star. So tomorrow, come on out, and practice starts at around 5:30ish. Let's see here. Paula Jackson wants to know if Dallas could have a top 3 defense. Sure. I don't think so, but sure. I think they have major questions along their secondary specific to their safety position. But, yeah, their front seven's been very, very active, Paul, and it's hard to look at them and think they're not going to be really, really good. Top 3 might be a stretch. Top 5, top 10, sure. Robert Romo says Earl, ? And then Kenny Manchester says safety, ? By the way, hit the share button if I'm answering your questions, if you wouldn't mind. That'd be great. Also, if you have Cowboys friends that are Cowboys fans, tag them in this post, and then I'll get to your questions, and hopefully they can come enjoy this as well. Look, the deal with Earl Thomas is, as it's been, I don't know. It seemed the sticking point was the Cowboys didn't want to give up a 2. They'd rather give up a 3 and make it a 2, a conditional 2, which if you watched my streams before, I've said that. I'm not even sure if the Cowboys called up the Seahawks right now and said we'd give you a 2 if the Seahawks would say hello. It seems like a lot of this is in Seattle's court for whatever reason. Because, again, as I've kind of said throughout, the Cowboys didn't really do anything to, change their fortunes at safety. I mean, they moved Byron Jones. By the way, Chris Richard, after practice, was asked about, could Byron Jones maybe move back to safety with all these injuries? And he said, he's a corner. He's a corner. That's what he kept saying. He's a corner. Chidobe, corner. Nobody's moving. So the guys that are running with the corners right now are corners. They're not moving. The guys that are running with safeties right now are safeties. But they did nothing in the draft. They did nothing in free agency to change their fortunes at the safety position. So, they never had depth going in. Now they've got injuries there. We don't know how long Xavier Woods is going to be out. They say 2 to 4 weeks. So that's obviously something to monitor. Ernest Quintanilla says, please tell me they're going to cut Chaz Green this year. I believe so, yeah. Nee Soul says, what's up, Ari? Nee, how are you, buddy? Hope you're well. Big Game James in the house says, what up, Ari? What up, Big Game James? How are you, brother? Dana Braining, what up, Ari? Will Zeke play this week? That's a great question, Dana. Will Zeke play this week? Do you want him to play this week? If you're a Cowboy fan, do you want Zeke to play this week? So when Zeke was asked about it, and Zeke didn't stop to do interviews after practice. Let me share this a couple places, if you wouldn't mind, people. There we go. All right, cool. I'm sharing it. You guys hit share. Let's all share. I don't know why this didn't show up on the, they cut the lights on me. Oh, I think I actually can go change that in a second. I think they're on timers. So bear with me 1 second while I go turn the lights back on in here so I don't look like this dark shadow. All right. I think it's like motion censored, so they went off because there's no motion. I did go dark. Dana says he wants to see Zeke in the third preseason game. So when Zeke was asked about this at training camp in Oxnard, he said that they were going to stick with the plan for last year, which was, if you recall, that he played, I think, a few snaps in the third preseason game. Now I wonder if the mentality on that has changed in light of some of the injuries that we've seen, obviously last week. Now, look, I'm of the belief you can't play scared. You don't sit guys because you're scared they're going to be injured. That's just not, you can't do that in football. Sean Moore says only a series for Zeke and then mothball him until the opener. Yeah, and that's, Sean, I believe that's exactly what they did last year, which I'm fine with. The thing is, like, the running back position is specific to me insofar as, like, every hit you take, every snap you take brings you one snap closer to your last. So I'm always going to err on the side of more cautious when it comes to the running back position. But I'm fine if he gets a series. I'm fine with that. I guess I'm not any more scared to play guys because of what happened Saturday. That's just the Cowboys before the game on Saturday had an unbelievable amount of luck when it came to injuries. So, I mean, to me, it's a little bit of the evening out finally, right? Where they just didn't have any luck at training. They had no bad luck at training camp with injuries, with practices. No bad luck in the first preseason game. There was just nothing really. I mean, Marcus Martin was the biggest name of an injury after the first preseason game. So you expect every team is dealing with 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 injuries. So that's just the nature of the beast when you've got 90 guys playing football at this point. So. Lucy and Tino Paz says Jones needs to stay at corner. He will. Again, Chris Richard after practice tonight said he's a corner. He kept repeating, he's a corner. He's a corner. So the guys who are running with corners now are going to stick at corner. The guys who are running with safety right now are sticking at safety. So they're not moving these guys. Where they are right now is where they're going to be. That remains true for Byron Jones. It remains true for for Cheeto, for everybody. Leroy Parsons says no Zeke. Nick Gigas says Zeke. Kenny Manchester says I think we need to give Seattle whatever they want. We've saved $8 million cap space with Dez. I think $8 million is a good offer for Earl Thomas. Paul Jackson says $4 million tops. What are you guys referring to? I mean, they're going to have to trade for him first. To be honest with you, the figures that I've heard for him on an annual basis on this next contract, which would be after next season, it would be $12 million, $13 million, $14 million a year. So, $8 million a year, $4 million. That's not. I mean, from what Ben Rogers has been saying, if you listen to the Ben and Skin Show on 105 to the Fan, and Ben's pretty plugged in, so he could know. He believes the deal's already, like, they've already worked out the deal, the Cowboys, with Earl Thomas's agent. So, like, the only thing that changes is either he's just going to play this year out with Seattle or then sign after the season with the Cowboys. And the deal's already basically worked out. So, and I believe Ben said today on the Ben and Skin Show between $12 and $15 million annually, which, Cowboys are going to have significant cap space after this season. Because the Dez dead money is done after this year. The Romo dead money is done after this year. Witten, Orlando Scandrick. Like there's 4 guys right there where they've had dead money that are cost them against the cap that are going to be gone. So they're going to have significant money to play with after the season. So, enough money to extend Dak, enough money to bring in Earl Thomas. So the only question is, it bears to reason that Earl Thomas is going to be on the Dallas Cowboys. The only question is whether it's this year via trade or next year via free agency. Mark May says give them a second-round pick. Nick Gigas says third-round pick is fair. Mikey Cordero says Earl Thomas coming home next season. Look, I agree that a third-rounder is fair, but that's not moving the needle for Seattle. I think where we're at right now, I'll be honest, I don't know where we're at right now, other than I know that Seattle won't give him up for a third-round pick. I don't even know if Seattle's willing to give him up to the Cowboys for a second-round pick. Like, it could just be that the Seahawks are basically like, we'll trade you anywhere except for Dallas, which sucks for the Cowboys because you could really use Earl Thomas today because, you're talking about the missing piece to, a championship caliber team and a championship caliber defense, and maybe he's not the missing piece. Maybe they do have a championship caliber team right now, but he certainly puts them over the top. I guess the only question that I have again is, would a second get it done? Because that's like, to me, if you're the Cowboys and you're firm on a 3, but you're like, well, all right, let's just go ahead and do, like, what's the difference between the third and the second at this point if the second gets the deal done, right? The only question then becomes, is that, like, would Seattle be willing to do that? That's the question. All right. Anybody else have any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? Ernest Quintanilla says Earl Thomas or Eric Reed. Reed's not coming to Dallas. Reed's not going to play in the NFL next year, but he's certainly not coming to Dallas. That's a non-starter because of the anthem stuff. So, everybody heard what Jerry Jones has said and said publicly about the national anthem and all that stuff, right? So, let's just erase Eric Reed from in the sentence of playing for the Dallas Cowboys. I saw that, Chris. DeMarco Murray signed with Fox to be a college football analyst. Good for him. Dana, I would trade a second-round pick if it got me Earl Thomas. I would, if you've watched my streams in the past, I was pretty firm on a third, but I would, if at this point a second gets me Earl, then I'm doing the deal. All right, what else we got? I'm just going to run through again, just make sure I want to answer everybody's questions, but if not, I'm going to jet out of here. Again, I'll be live again tomorrow starting at noon for Showtime. Law Nation says, salute. What up, Law? How are you, buddy? Law, if you're still watching, I tried to restream this through your YouTube page, and I don't know what happened, but I don't think it worked. But if you want, Law, you could do me a solid and post this to your YouTube page after it finishes. That'd be fantastic, if you wouldn't mind. Law, would you trade a second? Let's see here. Robert Holm gives me says hi. Hi, Robert Holm. How are you? Let's see what else. Mike James, D. Jackson was very fluid in his running lanes. Thank you and Law for y'all hard work, bro. Appreciate that. The Cowboys look to have a pretty good stable of running backs. Darius Jackson, again, if they keep 4 running backs, I think they're going to keep 4. The question is, will they keep Darius Jackson or Jameis Olawale? I believe they end up keeping Olawale. But they've been in this position before with Jackson. When he was here before, wearing 34, he ran well. He looked good. He contributes on special teams. He's a good NFL player. The problem is other teams know that. And I think he got picked up by Cleveland and then got an injury. So, that's kind of the problem right now. All right, let me just cycle through all the other pages again. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I'm Ari Temkin from FANTOM, the New World Order of Sports Media. Check us out at facebook.com/Watch FANTOM. On the Dallas Cowboys report page. Any word on George as a signing for safety? George? Who's George? John Jacob Nava gives me the hello emoji. Hi, John Jacob. How are you? What else we got? Just want to cycle through all the pages again. Blah, blah, blah. Anybody have any other final questions for me as I conclude this stream here from the Star in Frisco practice? As I finish up practice here. Final questions and thoughts, and if you didn't get your question in or question answered, again, Showtime streaming tomorrow at 12 noon right here on Phantom. Let's see here. Lucy and Tino Paz says Iloka can come in and do well. Leave Thomas out too much for now. I want Earl in, but cheaper with Iloka. Well, that's the problem, Lucy and Tino Paz. Iloka's got a lot of interest, so you're not getting a cheap price for Iloka. And I think, he grades out probably more as a strong safety, more so than a free safety. I mean, he's not, he's been consistent for Cincinnati. I think he's really good as a blitzer up at the line of scrimmage. He's not, I don't think he's a traditional center fielder at free safety. So, I think the Cowboys look at him and say, what's the price tag going to be? And again, the Cowboys know they're going to sign Earl Thomas next year in free agency if they don't get him now. So, maybe they look at building this thing up for next year to be able to get him, and then hope that maybe they can, coax a trade to be able to get him sooner. But I think the George Iloka, if it would have happened, it would have happened. Paul Jackson says we need to draft tight end in the first round next year. I agree with that, but I don't know that they will, especially if Jason Garrett's running the show, because they're not prioritizing tight end, especially as a red zone threat. Sean Moore, I'm willing to bet as soon as Woods got hurt, the ET price. Yeah, great call, Sean. Sean Moore, man, he knows his stuff. Brandon Schultz says, do you think Dak will throw 20-plus touchdowns this year? It's a good question. I don't know. I think he'll have 20-plus touchdowns this year. I don't know if he'll throw 20-plus touchdowns, but I think he's going to have a good handful of touchdowns on zone read in the red zone. We see a lot of zone read the Cowboys run in practice. Obviously, that's a red zone killer for them. They're really good in the red zone with Zeke and Dak. So I'll put Dak down for 20-plus touchdowns, including rushing touchdowns, but not 20-plus passing touchdowns. Kenny Manchester says, who's going to be the number one wide receiver? It's interesting, and my buddy Jeff Kavanaugh from 105 to the Fan wrote about this. They've gone to Michael Gallup a couple of times in preseason games on third and short when they've needed it, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. You looked at the game on Saturday night. 2 times they converted with Gallup on 3rd and short situations. So that to me, I've said I think it's Beasley's that guy, the 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 guy. Who do they go to? I think that's Beasley, but so far we've seen it be Gallup. So I mean, if that's what you mean by number one, then Gallup or Beasley. I still think Beasley ends up as the number one receiver as far as targets and yards are concerned. But Gallup has been very impressive. He's been every bit what some people thought they were getting as a steal in the 3rd round. So. Appreciate you, Lucy and Tino Paz. Make sure to check out Showtime every day at noon Central right here on Phantom and across the Dallas Cowboys America's team page as well. Sean Moore wants to know my David Irving thoughts. Look, David Irving is really, really good. He had, 7 sacks in 8 games played last year. He's a very effective edge rusher. But he's not at all with this team during training camp. When the season starts, he's going to have a 4-game suspension, so he can't be at all in the facility or with the team. So, I mean, the earliest he could be here is week 5. So, we'll see what happens. But obviously he had that Instagram post where he talked about playing every game high. I don't know what his status is, but he has not had a good start to a contract year for David Irving. He's a guy I'm rooting for because, look, he's a guy that is really, really good. And, I mean, it's not just last year we had 7 sacks in 8 games, but the year before he just shows out and he's productive. He's a very good player. All right, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, if you want to get tickets for the game Saturday night, go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app and use promo code FANTOM, F-A-N-T-O-M. Do it now, and that way you can get cheaper seats. Go to SeatGeek, use promo code FANTOM, F-A-N-T-O-M. Use promo code FANTOM, you're going to get $20 off your first order at SeatGeek. So if you want to get regular season tickets, go buy them now. If you want to buy tickets for the game Sunday night at AT&T Stadium, go to SeatGeek.com and then use promo code FANTOM, and you'll get $20 off your first order. Again, go to SeatGeek.com and use promo code FANTOM to get $20 off your first order. If you like what we're doing here at Phantom, support us and what we're doing and support our sponsors. Make sure to use the promo code FANTOM at SeatGeek.com. Our other sponsor, which hopefully you'll see in a moment here, is BetDSI. BetDSI.com, where right now, when you use promo code Phantom at BetDSI.com, they're going to match whatever your initial deposit is. So if you initially deposit $100, you go to BetDSI.com, use promo code Phantom, you get another $100. And just to recap, over-under wins for the other teams in the Cowboys division. I have over 10.5 wins for the Eagles. I think they're going to win the division. I think the Cowboys get a wild card and finish second at 10-6, which means I have over 8.5 for them. I have over 7 wins for the Giants, finishing third place, 8-8, 9-7, that area. And then I have the Redskins going under 6.5 wins. So if you want to go to BetDSI.com right now, use promo code Phantom and bet on the NFL futures. Deposit $100, you'll get another $100 to play with using promo code Phantom at BetDSI.com. Again, BetDSI.com, promo code Phantom. And over 10.5 for the Eagles, over 8.5 for the Cowboys, over 7 for the Giants, under 6.5 for the Washington Redskins. All right, that's it for me for now. I'm out from the Star here in Frisco. Appreciate everybody spending the night with